Alright, today we're putting together the big mess that we created. Um, it started out with a bunch of problems starting. It was getting weaker and weaker. We've gone ahead and ended up replacing the starter, the relay, new batteries, and the ignition. So this is today is putting together the mess that we created getting to all those things. So let me show you what we got. So since some of the covers have come off, I've got this tarp just hanging up here, and so here's the of course we got a new starter, and then that new relay that's in there, which is right here, and it goes up on this bracket. It's hidden up in here. It goes on the back side, so I got to get that mounted, and of course there's a bolt that's sitting right here that has to go on the bottom side, which is the most ridiculous place to be able to get it on there. So I have to get down on the ground on my back and have an angled ratchet bit. So that's one thing that needs to go on. So this is going to go in there. Of course, getting to everything and trying to trace wires and all that. Of course, this whole pan's gone. Of course, there's the new batteries that are down there. I'm going to get 2 new cables coming. Of course, these are, of course, from John Deere. This one is like 60 bucks almost, and this one's $200. They're getting a little bit of age on them. They might need to be redone, along with some of the other wirings that are in here. Of course, the dash cover and everything I had to pull off just because I was diagnosing to make sure that wires are all right. So, of course, this is the starter switch, and we're going to cover this one up for right now once we put it in. But it's got a split in it right here. It's still got some insulation that's on there, but you know, I feel like I just need to go ahead and replace them. But for the purpose of what I'm doing right now, I'm putting it back together so I can get it back over to where I can work on it a little more easily. Because right now, if you take a look, I'm out in the woods a little bit, so it makes it a little bit harder for me to get things in here, and that's where the tools are. So we're going to be doing a temporary fix. So I'm going to tape it up, throw it in there. New ignition switches in there, and that was just a pain to get in because this whole cover had to come off, this one here, and so of course I got bolts are back in. Some of these bolts up here need to go back in. And then of course the whole seat had to come out, and that other plate, and so I'm getting ready to do the balancing act of putting it back together so I can start it, take it home, and then take it back apart so we can do a little more work to it. So I'm going to try to time lapse it and see how well it goes. All right, got it in there temporarily. It's tough to get in that little location. I need to pull that whole bracket off in order to get it in right, but just to get it from here to drive it down the road where I need to get it, it's in there and it's secure. It just has one bolt, but for some reason I can't line them up right without really being able to see back there. So it'll ride where it's at. Everything's hooked up. So now it's just time to go ahead and tighten the starter down. And everything is disconnected on this thing right now. So all the battery cables are off. In case I don't want to arc any of these things while I'm in here messing around with these tools. And this goes straight to the battery, this cable here. So yeah, if I touch that and touch one of these metal pieces, we'd arc it out. Might fry something that we don't want to fry. And since it's a dual 6-volt system, it's got some serious starting amps, and I don't want to feel that. Okay, now for the one on the bottom. This one's in a difficult spot. So I didn't film it of trying to get that bolt in because I ended up, you can see my hand, had my hand up inside there trying to get this bolt, and one little hole on this bracket inside on the back side of this starter is down the bottom, and there's just enough room for your hand and the bolt, but I was sliding it in, and by the time you line it up with a hole and you try to push it, there's not enough room for your thumb, and I just couldn't get it. So I fidgeted it with probably 20 minutes. I said a whole bunch of cuss words, so I decided to cut that off. So I finally got it in there through getting up underneath it, and that's the only place I can see the holes from underneath. So I slid it from there, slid it in from there, and then went ahead and slid this ratchet on with, and it kind of has to go around the bottom of this starter. So once I get it seated, I'll pull it out so you can kind of see what the angle that I'm having to get it on there. If it'll just bite here in a second. And of course, I don't have a torque wrench with me, so setting the right torque is not going to happen at this moment. And of course, it's also raining on me a little bit, but it's compared to yesterday, it was in the 20s and 30s yesterday, and since this thing's been sitting here, I'd like to start it because today is actually in the 60s, which is some weird weather. So I won't need to worry about trying to start it cold. Get it. Okay, side cover's back in. Got to put the bolt in here. It takes a little bit of fancy footwork to get all these things kind of on there, squeezed on there, but it's sitting there. Of course, here's my beep 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 switch. It's not even hooked up because I just use this on personal sites, but it's got the starter switch back in here temporarily. That covers back in. So now it's this little piece right here, which is not going to be that necessary, but I'm going to go ahead and put it on just so I don't lose the parts, because I'm going to be taking this off later on. But let's see, so we're going to put this cover back on, and then I think we'll be ready to put the plate back in, and then seat back in, and get it started and get it going down the road. Okay, a little test run here. We got battery cables hooked back up. Best they can be for the old ones that are on there. I'm gonna go ahead, and it's warm. We do have an indicator light on. It is warm out here, so it's been in the 40s, so at night. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a little bit of heat, maybe for about 15 seconds, maybe not even that long, because it's pretty decent. Okay, so let's see what'll happen here. Make sure we're in neutral so I don't get run over. And